Hi guys, welcome back. It is just that time of year where all of our fun plans are being shuffled about because of all the snow and ice. England does not cope well with even the sprinkling of snow. Everything just freezes over, the world comes to a halt. So a couple of things have had to be shuffled. For example, one day I couldn't even get the ramp of my trailer open. It was frozen solid. We had temperatures of like -8, which is actually quite rare for us. I think technically they were reaching like -5, but on the Apple phones, for example, you can have a look at what the feel like temperature is, and it was reaching as low as like -8 and -9. So priority was not going off and doing fun trips. It was actually just keeping Dublin warm and safe. I did still manage to get her out every day, but she was wearing about 400 grams worth of rug. So yeah, it's been a little bit cray-cray, as you can imagine. So had to have a shuffle. I have now had confirmation, rather excitingly, that my horse and country vlog will be going live on the 29th of January. That actually was one of my questions. First time I've ever worked with like production, I suppose, and things kind of like get delayed and get moved around, and they've just asked if I would release my vlog kind of the week or in line with their release date. So Horse and Country TV vlog will be going live on the 29th of January, and then the series will be going live on the 30th. They have given me a discount code for you to be able to subscribe so you can watch it cheaper, basically. And all that information will be on the Horse and Country TV vlog. Anyway, getting into this, I have had actually quite some good questions. Normally you get these and you just get the basics, kind of like how is Dublin and what are your plans for 2025 and all that, and I will answer that. But I'm looking at my list of questions, they're just sort of down here, sorry. But I have had some juicy ones. So let's get started. But yeah, let's get out of the way the most popular question, which actually is, am I getting another horse? I think I've answered this a few times in that yes, it's no secret, I would love a second horse. Dublin very much enjoys what she's doing, but she does have to go a little bit slower now. She doesn't feel like she has to, but she is 25, so realistically we are aware that she can't do what she used to do 10 years ago. So I'd love for her to stick to doing the veteran classes, and I really want to get back into workers. That's no secret, I've mentioned it before. I love the fell ponies. I am only 5'3", but they kind of only tend to reach 14 hands, so there is a little bit of like a, you know what, I might fantasize about them, but they might actually not be suitable. So yes, I would love another horse. I just can't afford to run two. I don't want Dublin to have to suffer, or not suffer, she wouldn't suffer, you know what I mean, but I don't want her to have to go with less just because the other pony needs it as well. So Dublin gets physio every 3 months, and I wouldn't want to have to say to myself, right, well, she can only have it like every 6 months now. No, she has to stay in the life that she is accustomed to and that she deserves, because she's older, therefore she needs it more, and I owe her everything, so she's not going without. I have had a question saying, would I take someone else's horse into the working hunter classes? Yes, I would. I really want to ride more horses. A few friends have said that they like my style of riding, and then I've ridden their ponies and I felt like I rode terribly because I just don't ride other horses. I've had Dublin 19 years and I've probably ridden 5 other horses, 6, 7 other horses in that time frame, which is it's not good. It's actually not good for yourself to do that. So that was a bit of an eye-opener. So I have set a goal this year that I want to ride 4 other horses minimum. So if one of my friends wants to take them to a show and I do the working hunter class, then yes, just tell me where and me and my tweed will turn up. But yeah, that kind of goes on to plans for 2025, I suppose. I can tie that into that. We will be showing again. It's what we do. I do miss the working hunter, and I understand the flat classes aren't as fun to watch, but I love them, and Dublin really likes being out. It's so easy for her. The classes are like, I think if you're in the ring for say an hour, you do about 20 minutes worth of work. The rest of it's kind of just standing and walking around. So, you know, it's perfect for an older horse. We do have a new concours dress for this year, and I am planning more beach rides, potentially a horsey holiday, things like that. We're just cramming in a little bit more of the fun stuff, and the showing I will only be doing the relevant like qualifiers. I would like to chuck in a county show because Dublin absolutely loves the atmospheres at county shows, but I've got to pick the right one. So that's kind of the plan for the year. And yeah, I've got lots of meetups like planned with friends, penciled in, obviously a little bit later on when it gets a little bit warmer. But yeah, that's what's to come for 2025. Okay, let's get into the slightly juicier stuff. I've got a feeling there's a question in there that maybe comes up a lot for the bigger influency type YouTubers that they don't answer, because to be fair to them, they don't actually have to answer that sort of thing. But we'll address it. However, the first one actually is just asking, am I a girly girl? Now, yes and no, I suppose. Like, yes, I have got a face and makeup on. I do normally have false nails. I am just having a bit of a break. And I used to have false lashes all the time, which I do miss. But just when I change jobs and I'm doing more of a 9 to 5 now, it's harder for me to go in every 2 weeks to have them done. And then I'd find that I would be going out somewhere and they were due to be done, so they didn't look very good. And it just, I was like, no, I am quite lucky. I have got quite long natural lashes, so I do get a lift and tint every 6 weeks, I think it is. And that makes a huge difference. Yeah, and like I said, I normally have my nails done, but today I don't. I'm only having a break this week. I do my own nails now. My nail tech was phenomenal. I loved her. But she was training to be a midwife, which is pretty incredible. And it was just harder and harder to get in. Again, with how my job changed, it was harder to get in. It was expensive, so I tend to buy my own kits now and do my own press-on nails. And yeah, like, the thing is, I like girly things. Like, I like shoes, I like handbags, but I also liked off-roading my Defender when I had it, and I like helping Brad on the farm, and if there's something wrong with a tractor, I am not afraid to get stuck in. Obviously, horsey girls, we're always a little bit more dirty and like happy to get involved with the horses, I suppose. But yeah, I like to think I can do both. I can do horsey, and then I can also do going out in skirts and heels, if that makes sense. Okay, so I feel like this one's going to be a whole bag. Someone has asked, there's 2 questions, which we'll link in together in a way. One is my opinion on influencers, and the other one was, did I make money on socials? So I feel like quite a lot of people get asked if they make money on socials, and it's probably not answered. And to be honest, that's because you don't walk up to a shopkeeper and say like, oh, how much money do you make, or anything like that. You don't even do it on dates. If you go and meet like a potential partner, no one really sits there and just says, right, okay, so how much money do you make? It's a bit of a taboo subject. It's not that it shouldn't be a taboo subject, but it's just that it's private, isn't it? Like, you don't ask anyone else what they make on socials. Same as you don't tend to ask anyone's age. But I think it's because there's this whole unspoken thing about making money on social media. It's very new, it's a very different, it's not actually that new, but it's a different thing. It's not like, you know, the average salary of a teacher, or you know, the average salary of a policeman. Socials can be so different, I suppose. You can make anywhere from £50 for an advert all the way through to the people in the Top Guns charging thousands. So basically that will eventually, I'll get back to that, because let's start with this whole opinion on influencers thing. Now, I get that, or maybe I'm overthinking it, I don't know. I think this person's trying to make me kind of go, oh, I don't agree with X, Y, Z and stuff like that. But whether I shock you or not, I don't know. My opinion on influencers is that I don't have an opinion. I think anybody that takes time and puts in effort to produce content that people like and then when they don't like it, they put in the effort to improve it. Anyone basically that's putting in their own time and effort into their social media page, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, then hat off to them. They become an influencer, I suppose, when they start being gifted stuff or working with brands. And I think if you've reached that point, then fair play. Yes, you're going to get bad apples, but my argument is you get bad apples in every industry. We have nurses that get struck off. We have policemen and policewomen that get struck off. We have surgeons who are doing bad jobs, but not once do you ever hear people saying nursing is bad, policing is bad, doctors are bad, surgeons are bad. No, people recognise that it's the one bad apple. Whereas in influencing or social media, you'll get one or two of the bad apples and everyone all of a sudden is all up in arms that every influencer is bad and all social media is bad. And that winds me up. It leads into as well, I get frustrated when people say like, oh, influencers annoy them, or, you know, they don't think it should be a thing. And I'm like, fine, that's your opinion, so therefore don't follow them. Don't ruin someone else's day by saying you don't agree with it. Just don't follow it. Because to be able to get to a point where you're working with a brand or you're being paid for an advert, there are years and years worth of work that's led to that one advert. In America or in, say, the beauty industry or things like that, it's much more accepted to do adverts. So I listen to a few American podcasts, I watch a few American YouTube accounts, and I've been following for the point where that person's had their first advert or their first paid deal, and they're really mega excited because obviously they've been putting in the effort. They all usually work a normal full-time job, and the horsey people will also then have their horses to do on top of it, and they're still coming home and they're still producing content. It is their choice to do that, but they are the ones putting in that work, and there are people consuming that content for free. You don't get Netflix for free, you don't get TV for free, you don't get anything else for free, but YouTube and Instagram is free. So there are people that are consuming that content, and when they do get their first paid deal, there's people cheering for them. Like, people are over the moon. As comments like, oh my god, I followed you from the start, I'm so excited for you that you're now able to fund this, to continue to put out the content that they like to consume. When that happens in the equestrian world, I have no idea why the equestrian people seem to be so much more jealous or hateful about it, because you get comments like, oh, I liked her until she started getting free stuff. What? You liked her content, or you liked their content, and because that content is now being rewarded because brands or people are also seeing how good their content is, so they've done really well for themselves, and all those people that like their content suddenly go, oh no, don't want anything to do with it. Blows my mind. You are going to get the bad ones, but my advice is notice the bad ones and unfollow them. The more people that don't consume the bad kind of content, or the people that probably aren't quite doing it like they should, the better, because ultimately they are getting all the free stuff. Or I don't like calling it free actually, because you have to work for it in order to receive the product, and then you have to work with said product. So actually it's not free, you're being paid via a product. So the ones being gifted stuff or PR ads type things, the ones that have ridiculous amounts of it, get it because the brands see the engagement. So the engagement on a post or the engagement on their social channels. So if you don't like it and you don't agree with it, don't cash in your engagement. So don't watch it, don't consume it, don't comment on it. Even if you want to leave a comment like, you don't agree with this, don't do it, because the algorithm doesn't notice what you're putting, it just notices that you are commenting. And that's the best way. That is just the best way. consume what you want to consume, don't consume what you don't agree with. For starters, you will be a much happier person, and the people that you don't agree with aren't consuming your mind. I actually follow a few people that I do like and I think are absolutely blimmin' brilliant, but I've muted them. And I've muted them on the basis that they are acing life so much with their full-time jobs and their horses, or they might even have multiple horses, and I feel like I'm not doing good enough. And it kind of made me feel a little bit like, I need to up my game. And then I have to sit down and go, no, I'm in my own lane and I'm doing what I do, because the time they might spend piling out all this extra content, I'm actually spending with Brad or on a dog walk, and I'm using my time differently. It doesn't make me any less of a person, I'm just using my time differently. So sometimes I just have to mute the odd person just to make sure that I'm in a happier place. Instagram or any social can become a miserable place if you are consuming content that you don't like. So just don't. So yeah, that is my opinion on it, I suppose. If you want to work hard and put in the hours and then from it you get brand deals, then round of a bloody applause. Well done you, because it's hard work. So crack on, do your thing, do what you want to do and reap the rewards. Don't go hating on people that then have done that. That's not fair, that's not nice. You don't look at the kid in school who does hours and hours of work and then they get an A star. You actually go, fair play, I've seen how much work you've put in and you deserve that. So why are we not doing that on social media? Blows my mind. The other thing that you have to just kind of remember is that it's business. It's nothing personal. So Sally, who has been ordering from them for 30 years, is a very, very valued customer to a brand, but she is not going to convert sales, and that's ultimately what these brands are trying to do. So loyal customers are amazing and they are valued, and I now work for a brand that has customers, and trust me, we value you. Like, you are amazing. Keep doing what you're doing because we value our customers. But it's business, and I think that's where the confusion lies, because, you know, some brands will look at an influencer with a certain amount of people, with a certain amount of engagement, and say, I really need to piggyback off of this person to help my business, and in return we can offer them payment, product, whatever the arrangement is, and it's a win-win situation for both. It's nothing personal. And I think that's just one of the biggest things you have to remember. Okay, let's take it back a little bit, because I have a question of tips for looking after veteran horses. And this was actually from a DM, and the person said that they feel like it needs to be spoken about more on socials. So there are a lot of accounts out there with veteran owners. Veteran horses, or horses in general, are living to be a lot older. They're living for a lot longer. That's not a bad thing. That just shows that our care for horses has come on so much in the last, gosh, even 20 years. When I had my first pony, when she got to 18, I used to get so many questions of like, when are you going to retire her? And, you know, she's so old now and all that. Whereas actually, if you took an 18-year-old to the veteran championships, everyone sees them and goes, oh, it's a teenager, they're so young, and it's so nice. Like, even Dublin is the lower end of the diamonds now, and they kind of go, oh, got years left, and it's nice. So we're obviously looking after our horses so much better than we were, but that doesn't mean that they can have the same care, I suppose, as younger horses. For me, caring for Dublin, I always think to myself, prevention rather than cure. So if I've gone out for a ride and the ground is even a little bit too hard or even a little bit too soft, I will spend a couple of minutes cold hosing legs when I get back. I like to make sure that she is on the warm side. So I'm not saying over rugging, like don't take it out of context. I'm not saying I'm cooking her and that she's wearing a gazillion rugs, but something as simple as I will leave a cotton sheet on her kind of like all the time. Obviously it comes off when I ride and I groom her, but that will stay on regardless of what rug she's wearing on top. So if you are somebody, for example, that likes to change from a stable rug to a turnout and then vice versa when they come back in, My personal opinion is that actually the horses have built warmth up under those rugs, and I don't see the point in changing them to put a cold rug on to then obviously allow them to build the heat up during the day, come in, take it off and put a cold stable rug on. But a cotton sheet does mean that the horse's skin and the heat they have built up is still being retained within the cotton sheet, and they're not having hot and cold rugs like taken on and off. And then of course horses use their own energy to keep warm, so by keeping Dublin when she's not fat, currently she's a little bit fat, but when you want to retain the condition on a veteran horse, you don't want them trying to burn too much of their own energy to stay warm. So by keeping her warm and not kind of like, oh, she's wearing 100 grams, therefore she should be fine, and if she's not, she can use her own energy, I just take that factor out. I just make sure that she is warm enough so that any condition she does have is not being used for her to stay warm. If that makes sense? Does that make sense? She's not having to use herself basically, therefore she's not going to lose any condition by staying warm. If there's a really, really cold winter, I'd rather chuck an extra rug on than kind of go, oh, it's fine, she'll be all right because she's a horse, she can cope. No, I kind of just remove that factor from it, so that the condition stays there. But obviously if she's getting too hot, a rug comes off. Like, that goes without saying. I am not cooking her. Plus I can't risk her sweating because she's allergic to her own sweat. So yeah, don't over rug, but just check, and if they're slightly like on the chillier side, just think to yourself, do you know what, I don't want to put a whole rug on, but I could put a little fleece or a cotton sheet on, it would just help. And then yeah, a good quality hay and feed and supplements if you think they need it. Now I'm not going to get into feeding and supplements because every horse is different and different horses react differently to different supplements. Like the calming cookies is a good example. Some horses are great on them and some horses don't even notice they've been given one. That's not the calming cookie, that's the horse's like reaction, I suppose, or each horses for courses. So the best thing to do is just experiment. One thing at a time, change one thing at a time for a month, keep note, see if you notice a difference, and even if you do notice a good difference, don't be afraid to try something else, and then you might go, oh, this is better, or no, the other one was better, I'll go back. So yeah, it's just prevention rather than cure, and just being aware that everything just needs to take a little bit longer. So recovery takes longer. Walking, you need to do more of that before you get going and things like that. So take life a little bit slower, pander to them that little bit more, but ultimately horses are living a lot longer because our treatment is better. So there's no reason why you shouldn't still be cracking on and doing as you were doing, but just give yourself an extra 15 minutes a day to do those little tiny little detail things, and yeah, you will be fine. Okay, so fave equestrian brand. Now, I mean, there's brands for everything, isn't there? I mean, I work for Green Mile Bedding, so they're my favourite bedding brand because I actually legit love the bedding. It has so many benefits. It's a whole thing to get into. I run the Instagram account, so do follow Green Mile Bedding and you can see everything that I do. For general horse stuff, it used to be Derby House before they sold, which is again a whole bag because they got sold with the belief it would continue, and unfortunately the new owners discontinued it. But the rugs fitted Dublin. I had used Derby House for years and I always posted about them on Instagram, naturally, really not expecting anything, but I would always sort of like tag them in my content and things like that, and then that did lead to me working with that brand. Again, that goes back to the whole influencer thing. That's kind of how it works. But when I say I've been tagging them for years, I mean I've been tagging them since Instagram started. I think I started using Instagram in 2014 and I had Derby House rugs. So as soon as that whole tagging thing came in, I was tagging them. We ended up working on a couple of their campaigns. We got given quite a lot of stuff from them, which was incredible, and I still have it. But yes, unfortunately they've gone. So I've moved on to, I've been using Gallop for rugs. The girl that I worked with at Derby House has moved to Gallop, so that relationship is still there. But I've bought a few things from Gallop and I have been gifted a few things from Gallop. That is now my go-to place, but I haven't really experimented with any others yet, so we'll see. And then yeah, like equestrian brand, I mean gosh, you can go into the fashion now, so I do like Fairfax and Favour. I think the stuff is on the more of the pricier side, but it's long lasting. My first pair of boots I've had for something like 12 years and they still are great. So they're my like investment pieces. But favourite brand, I love Equeline for the headbands. I like Light My Ride for the yard lights. So yeah, lots of different brand favourites for lots of different categories. But if anyone's got any brands like they think are great and I need to know about them, just tell me below, because I like discovering new people all the time. Okay, so last question that we'll do is, have I got any holiday plans? So Brad and I try and go away abroad once a year, normally October time, because it works with Brad's football season and my show season. That tends to be when we're quietest. But it does mean that we're limited on the places that we can go because you're in like winter sun. So we are going to look for something different. But there are talks in one of my group chats for a potential horsey holiday. We've done one before. We went to Steepleton Farm, I think it's called. It's Jenny's place. Sorry, Jenny. But yeah, it's lovely pods and you got a field for your horses and like beautiful hacking. She's got an amazing arena. You can use all that stuff. And she's not far from, I think it's Valeview or something like that. Big place with a cross-country course on sand. So it's a really good like central location for my friends as well. I think it was like an hour for all of us. So we're looking potentially at going back there, or we might try somewhere new. We're not really sure. But yeah, we are talking of a horsey holiday. And I also have friends coming to me, which again, we have the options for camping and things like that. So I can put the girls in different paddocks with the horse, like, we've got some spare paddock things that we can use and set up, and they can park their trailers and lorries in the field and we can create our own horsey holiday really. So yeah, lots going on. Thank you for the questions, covered a little bit, went into a bit of a divulge there on the old influencer situation. But I know that's a juicy one because everyone's got their own opinions and all that. But I think being able to express that looking at the bigger picture is beneficial for everybody. So yeah, I'm gonna go before I divulge into that even further. So yeah, thanks for watching guys. Next week I'm hoping to bring you my trailer edition because we've got some upgrades and it's been left and it's gone really, really manky, and I was hoping to have that out to you for this vlog, but the ramp was frozen shut. So yeah, and then it is the Horse and Country TV vlog. So it's all getting exciting because then we've got farm rides and we've got our first shows coming up. So thank you for hanging in there and I will see you next week. Bye guys.